This is Passion and Pursuit, a podcast with heart where you are the main inspiration. You're listening to episode 2 of Passion and Pursuit, the podcast with heart. My name is Priya Devalia. I also happen to be the host of this great show. My guest today is my good friend, Edwin Menendez-Molina, realtor, personal trainer, entrepreneur, and we discuss his rise from rock bottom. Let's get into it. Hello, Edwin. How are you?
I cannot complain. I'm taking it easy right now.
Is that a Gucci shirt?
No, it is not. No, I don't wear those fine threads, you know?
Oh, you're not a name brand.
I'm a winner's boy. If it looks good, it's on.
Where is your last name from?
My parents are both from Ecuador, South America. I'm personally, if you look at all of it, 3/4 Hispanic, 1/4 Black from my mom's side.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you were a quarter Black.
Yeah, my grandfather was dark-skinned, a brother from another mother. And so I'm pretty mixed.
Was he Ecuadorian Black?
He was, yes.
Are you fluent in Spanish?
Very. Extremely fluent in Spanish, semi-fluent in French.
Were you in French immersion?
I was, yes, that's why.
Okay, so, because I know who to come to for some translations in French and Spanish. This is good.
Not a problem.
So I've never been to Ecuador. Totally want to go. What top 3 things do you recommend to see or do in Ecuador?
The food. The other thing that stuck with me was the mountains. Getting through the mountains and those rough roads. It's extremely picturesque. It's different. You know, it's not Highway 401 and 407. Getting out of the big city, going into those little rural places in the mountains and stuff, I still remember that stuff. And the other thing I always remember is Galapagos Islands.
Is that where the Galapagos are?
That is, yes.
Obviously, somebody was slacking in geography class.
I was not, and I love traveling. I do appreciate God's creations everywhere I go. Galapagos is one of those places that really got me. But the biggest memory was the lights went out at midnight to allow peace to the animals around us, to allow nature, to do its thing. It's mind-blowing to see some of God's creations, just animals I saw then that I probably can't even pick out in a picture anymore if I had to. I don't even know what they're called, but they will vividly live in my mind for the rest of my life.
That's amazing. Sure. I know Darwin, that's where he kind of picked up a lot of his evolutionary theory because it was so diverse. I mean, the only thing I know about the Galapagos Islands are those massive giant turtles.
Yes, we saw those as well. I remember those, the flamingos. I remember the sea lions. My father got attacked. He got chased by a sea lion. He got too close for pictures. So he got chased up.
He got attacked by a sea lion.
Well, he got chased. He got chased. No, a flamingo, I would be like, yo, really, Dad? But no, a sea lion became a fairly large sea lion. Charged at him.
So funny. My mom got charged by a zebra once in our home country. You said the food in Ecuador is amazing, and I actually love discussing food. What's the national traditional dish there?
The one that I've learned to make, which I love, is ceviche. Shrimp ceviche, hands down my favorite. I will eat it 5 days a week with white rice, no problem. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I love it. That with some fried plantains. I still remember a lot of the stewed meats and the rices a lot of the stuff was purchased on the street. The authentic chorizo is definitely something to try.
Is it really?
The authentic, the ceviches. And some of their soups. Some of their soups are really, especially the seafood soups, are really, really good.
You sound like the tourist ambassador for Ecuador. I think that you should get some payment for that. A lot of people don't know this about you, Edwin, but you are actually incredible at cooking. Like, you got some moves in the kitchen. How did you get that way?
My father worked in a kitchen in Yorkville. That's my father. My mom and father were first generation Canadians, and they worked those jobs that people still work when they come in from outside the country, like cleaning and kitchen jobs, all the cash jobs. And so my father and my mom started off cleaning, but then they went into the restaurant industry. My mom worked at a little cafe. My dad worked as a kitchen helper. I only learned by watching. Everything else, I filled the gap. Watched a lot of videos online, and I learned to mix my own ingredients, and I figured out taste. Here I am. I mean, hey, my kids like my food, I guess.
You're married to a Taiwanese lady. Your kids are mixed, Taiwanese and Ecuadorian. And this makes me laugh because only in Toronto do you get this kind of intercultural marriage.
It's probably true.
You're an incredible dad. I always admire your dedication, You're taking them to classes, to the stables to ride horses. You're volunteering for school trips, helping homeschool them, during lockdown when COVID was going on. And there are tons of mommy blogs and mommy TikToks and mommy advice, but not a lot for dads. So I kind of want you to fill in that dad gap and just tell me, what's your philosophy on dadding?
On dadding, wow. I've always wanted kids. So I think one thing that has helped me to be the father that I am with my two. I give as much as I can. That's the bottom line with the kids. Even with the language and the culture, I don't impose things on them. I try to go to their level. I try to understand them.
That's amazing.
I'm not strict with the ruler. I'd rather talk to my kids and establish that sort of communication early on so that they know this is daddy. I can trust daddy. And that sort of evolves over time and over the years. And hopefully they don't take advantage of it. You grow respect from that. It's just giving them everything that's you.
I really want to switch gears right now. I would like you to give us a taste of your background. Like, where did you come up from?
I'm born and raised what used to be T-Dot, now the 6.
Before you continue, I have a global audience. Can you tell them what the 6 means and the T-Dot?
The T-Dot. The T-Dot's abbreviation for Toronto. Well, one of the slumps in Toronto is St. Jamestown. Yeah, I grew up with the bullying. I had guys chasing me with baseball bats. I had fist fights in the middle of everywhere. I grew up with, dealers, crackheads, and strangers offering me drugs or weapons in the elevator when I got in. Bodies in the stairwells at the end of the hall.
Bodies in the stairwell?
There was a body found once in the stairwell at the end of my hallway, and I lived about 2 doors away from that stairwell. So,
did you see it with your own eyes?
I did not. No.
Oh, thank God.
I've witnessed suicides and other stuff. I got out at one point. Cost me my father's passing to kind of motivate me to do that and get out of there. As an alcoholic, that was his demise, and it was something that kind of woke something up inside me. And I didn't know how to digest it. I didn't know how to deal with it. But one day, somebody at the funeral made a comment and said, "You're the man of the house now." And I just remember breaking down. It took about a year to kind of let it go. Then I kind of pulled my mom and sister in the years to follow, pulled them out of those neighborhoods into Midtown Toronto and got an apartment.
There's so much to unpack here.
It's bad. Yeah.
There's so much to unpack. Bullying. I really want to talk about that. Why were you bullied?
I was a chubby little thing in elementary school. Some kids just felt like they wanted certain things, and when I wouldn't give it to them, I just got chased with bats. And there were guys by high school that I would just look at. We just kind of look at each other in the hallway and just go at it. We wouldn't even say a word. We just start punching each other.
How did it affect you?
I got bullied, but I turned into a bully in high school in the first year.
Oh,
and that's how it affected me. I didn't have a lot of friends. I got into a lot of fights in elementary school, in the schoolyard. Again, there was always that one or two buddy of yours that was your fighting buddy. And by high school, I felt stronger. I felt mentally like I want to command my own group, have my own clique, and it was easily influenced. I mean, it's high school. You want to stand out. I started to make friends with the wrong people. I'd flush guys' heads in toilets. I'd pick fights in the middle of the hallway in front of the staff rooms. My locker was the one right next to the window at the office for late check-ins. I was late almost every day. I got into drug dealing with a buddy of mine. I had people chasing me for that. It was all about power and just status. And this is just high school.
Here's a weird question. Even though bullying is terrible, I was bullied when I was in boarding school, actually. It was a really, really difficult time. But when you're in it, you don't realize it. And so you start to develop certain traits. Some of them are good. When I say traits, I mean, part of it is you're wounded and hurt by what's happening to you. But there are also other traits that you develop that are kind of useful. In my case, I think it was I had to find inner strength in some way. And that really helped me moving forward in my life. To me, you seem like a really scrappy kind of guy. I kind of feel like even though bullying did a lot of bad things to you and then turned you into a bully, which is not good, did it teach you anything useful?
That's a good question. The most immediate thing that comes to mind right now is you realize that not everybody's on your side. When things get rough, they don't stick around. You become a one-man show, and it's very difficult to trust people, even at that age. I went to an all-boys school, and that's why I tried to set that status in grade 9, was because I'm thinking, well, I want to fit in. I want to have my own crew. I lost a lot of friends. I had my lonely times here and there through high school, and I learned very early on that nobody's got your back. You've got to do your own thing.
Is that useful? That seems kind of harsh.
It forced me to do things I probably would not have done otherwise. Like I got into martial arts. I started to take care of my health at a very young age. Started powerlifting when I was 16. I was doing heavy bench presses, all kinds of crazy stuff. Yeah, it's got its pros and cons, I guess. But it did mess with me because I became very subdued. My martial arts was not with anybody I knew. My working out was not with anybody I knew. I was out in my own little world, doing my own little thing. It was good to get into a mindset of being alone and realizing that, you got to do what you got to do. And then with my father passing, bullying opened my eyes to how to trust people and who to trust and how to read them and that sort of thing. And I still don't get it right. Don't get me wrong.
What advice would you give to young people right now who are experiencing bullying? And now bullying has crept into the cyber bullying arena.
Pick and choose your battles. Some are not worth them. It's not worth the time. Worry about yourself. Don't worry about what other people are saying. And, when rubber hits the road, you're going to realize you'll probably be a million miles ahead of them and you're not going to look back. Don't waste your time. It's not worth it.
You grew up with drug dealers and crackheads. You had strangers offer you drugs or weapons in the elevator.
Yeah.
There were dead bodies in your building, prostitutes roaming nearby. That's intense. What messages about life did you absorb from being in an environment like that?
Again, I feel like it tied back to my father. If my father had not passed away, I don't know where I would be today, to be honest with you. And then my father passing away shortly after high school in my first year of college, I snapped. The gears started to turn. I changed my life. I had to. I had no choice. I'm like, I can't live like this. This isn't safe for my mom and sister. I got my act together and started to make things happen for my life. And before I knew it, I had 5 part-time jobs and getting myself through college. No tuition assistance. I paid everything cash. I worked my butt off. I worked so hard. I had friends taking notes for me, and I'd study at night after I got notes off them. Wow. I'd sit down with other friends that I still friends to this day, and for that exact reason.
Your dad was an alcoholic.
He was.
I don't think anyone except someone who has actually grown up in a home with an alcoholic parent or one steeped in addiction or mental illness can understand what that's like. How would you describe your relationship with your dad?
Wow, that's a good question. I always lived scared, I think is the first word that comes to mind, is scared, because I didn't know how is he going to be this night when he gets home, or how will I find him in the morning.
So there was an element of unpredictability there.
Yeah, I didn't know, like, how drunk will he be? And it got to the point where, sadly, I still have this picture in the back of my head of my father when he was so drunk, sitting in a chair. He was so out of it that my sister and I actually put makeup on him and put all kinds of stuff on, a hat and glasses, and made him look like a clown and took a picture of him because he was so out of it. But it was always fear. I just didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, how drunk is he going to be? Can I talk to him? Should I talk to him? Is he going to get mad? Or it was fear. It was fear. I was just scared half the time. And I saw things slowly break down between my mom and dad. And by the time I was probably just double digits or so, yeah, my parents started to talk about separation and that sort of stuff. And they sat down and talked to me and my sister about it. So, and I saw it coming. I knew, like, you could see it in an alcoholic's home easily.
Was there something from him that you were craving as a son that you felt you never got?
I'm going to be honest, I've actually never been asked that. I've never even thought about that.
Well, welcome to Passion and Pursuit, the podcast with heart. We ask the important questions.
He took the first step of coming to Canada with my mom. I think that was what he left me, though. They took that initial step, and the rest was up to my sister and I, for example, as the second generation, to be better, to take on bigger things and become better people and become people of stature in the society. And that's why they brought us here. So I can't say there's anything that I would have craved or wished that he'd shown me or anything like that, because I think the reason they came here was to start a family with the intent of having kids that would be bigger and better and carrying on their legacy. So I can't say that there's something specifically I would have liked to adopt from him that I didn't quite grasp.
Did you feel that you had a good dad, but he just was a dad with an addiction?
Yes, I did. I felt like he gave me a taste of a lot of things. The cooking, like you mentioned earlier, is because of him. He gave me a taste of what it's like, and I'd watch him. I'd be with him in the kitchen sometimes, working on the car. I'd work with him on the car sometimes. He gave me a taste of everything it took to be a man of a house and take care of things.
When you look back on your childhood with your father's alcoholism, how did that upbringing really shape your character?
I think the biggest thing my dad left me was to show me that there's a limit to the alcoholism. And that's why I've never been drunk. But I'm very careful to make sure that I don't go into those same shoes.
That's powerful. The fact that you were sort of steeped in the lesson of limits, that everything has a limit, and that too much of a good thing can destroy your health, your quality of life, your relationships.
When I heard those words of "you're the man of the house now," it all revolves a lot around my father having passed. Everything just changed. A lot of my mentality changed.
You said he met some kind of demise. Did he get sick in the end?
No, he would actually drink on the job. And one night what happened was my father reached his demise because he was already buzzed. And I guess he just felt he wanted one more drink. And that one more drink caused him to fall down the stairs and crack his skull open. And that was pretty much the end of that. He was on life
tragic.
Support. Yeah, he was on life support for a few days. We couldn't find him, actually. And then coincidentally, we found him at the hospital across the street from our house, of all places.
I just want to fast forward real quick to 2020, and you and I are having a conversation. You were really going through some things at that time, and it was a conversation that really shook me because you told me something about your father's death that had really affected you, but you knew it affected you, but until I pointed it out in living color, you realized that there was something that you really need to deal with. But your dad was actually on life support. Who makes the decision to switch off that life support?
At that point in time, it fell on my plate, and I did not expect that. At one point, the doctor came in, gave us the news, and said, it's not looking too good. And then I don't know what got into me, but I walked out, and I called the doctor over as she got on the stairwell, and I said, can you tell me what, just tell me what it is? And she said I would start making funeral arrangements if that was you. I was 18, 19 at the time.
That's young.
And yeah, spoke to my mom and sister and my cousins and basically broke the news to them and said that clinically they said he was pretty much gone and he's just a bag of potatoes on a machine right now. And I think literally I used those words, if I'm not mistaken. And
it's heartbreaking.
Pulled us all in to say our goodbyes. Then they started to shut down machines and they turned off the last of the machines while I was there.
So you're 18 years old, 19, you're a young man. You've had to make the most devastating decision of your life to pull the plug on life support. And even though you know pragmatically that's what needs to be done, I remember in our conversation in 2020, you said that you had experienced guilt still around having to make that decision.
Yeah. Yeah, the what if has always lingered. What if I waited one more day? What if, his brain was recovering and I just didn't give him time to recover? What if I just asked them to, I don't know, pump him full of morphine or I don't know, meds, right? So, but, what if? What if just constantly plucks away at me still.
I'm feeling it right here in my chest as you're describing this whole scene and what you went through. Like, I'm really feeling it. And I remember at the time telling you, I was like, bro, that is some real trauma. Like, you can't ignore that.
Mm-hmm.
It's something you have to deal with. In that moment, I remember recommending that you start counseling and address that wound. And to my surprise, you took my advice and did it.
Because all I remember is that my New Year's resolution that year was basically January 1st, and I could probably check my credit card bills. January 1st, I just signed up. I said, screw it. This is what I need. I know it. I paid for it, and I haven't stopped since, to be honest with you. I'm still in counseling.
I guess I was surprised because statistically, men don't voluntarily go to counseling. Why don't men go to counseling? And what made you take that plunge? And not that I want to make you out to be the bastion of counseling for men, but What advice would you give to other men who have gone through similar traumas, similar backgrounds?
You need help. You can't do it on your own. I'm sorry, but I don't care how strong you say you are. There's a wound in there somewhere. Bottom line, you may not see it now if that's when your father passed away. But in the years to come, believe me, something's going to happen. Something will trigger something else. And either it'll be a chain reaction or catastrophic more than you could possibly imagine. But either way, it's going to affect you. I don't care how big or small it is. Either way, it's going to come and bite you.
I appreciate you saying that because it's really important. And I hope that listeners take that to heart. You're the man of the house now. And I guess a light bulb went off in that moment where you realized that this new responsibility and mandate was now on your very young shoulders. You had to do something for your mom and sister. And what I want to explore with you is that mechanism of when a person decides to change a situation drastically, what are the steps that you have to take? What metamorphosis does your brain go through, the mind shift that you have to go through in order to make that happen?
You have to reach rock bottom. You have to start failing and realize you can't do this alone. That's the only way you're going to snap. You just have to realize that you've got to step up. Simple. It's just, there are no excuses. When you're put in those shoes, when you have people to take care of, there is no second guessing. You got to go.
The word decision actually means a cutting away of something. So the word decision means I'm cutting away all other options, basically is what it means. And you're only left with one option. What did you have to cut away in your mind and in your life in order to embody that new path that you knew that you had to take?
Sadly, I can actually answer that honestly. My father. About a year after he passed away, I had to let go. I had to find a way to let go on my own. He was gone, and I had to man up. I couldn't stay in that mindset. It would have destroyed me. And I knew it. I don't know how, but I knew it. Unfortunately, I let go of my dad very quickly.
Did you feel you had enough time to grieve?
I still feel guilty to this day that perhaps I did not grieve enough. I think I may have suppressed a lot of it. And it came up, for example, when I talked to you in 2020. Whether you deal with it then or now, it had to be dealt with, that grievances.
I want to take a moment to acknowledge all that you went through and how courageous and brave you've been throughout the years, especially as that young man who had to make such major decisions, and commend you for the fact that you pulled it off. You did pull your mom and sister out of there. And like you said, you had to work really hard. You had to rely on your network of friends in order to accomplish that too. And I commend you for that. You are one of the most talented people that I know, multi-talented. You are gifted in IT. You are an architect. You can renovate a home. You are in real estate. You're good with numbers. You're good with people. It seems like there's nothing you can't do. A former colleague described you as you were the jack of all trades and the master of none.
Yes. Mr. Ross Boyle, principal at the architectural firm I used to work for. And I still remember after about a year or so of working for this company on contract, there were a couple of the architects who said, we're going to buy you out of your contract. We want you to work for us directly. No middleman. And I bit, and they put me to work with this guy who was one of the most difficult people in the firm to work for. And I would do everything to try to keep up with this guy. But I was basically thrown from college level or architect learnings into running entire projects. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember one day he took me out to lunch. We sat there and he's like, so what's the problem? And I'm like, dude, I don't understand. I just got out of school. And I always tried to keep up because I was always pull things off. And it was never perfect. It was never perfect. I would do it. He'd have to correct it. Sometimes he'd be pissed at me. He's the one that told me, jack of all trades, master of none. It's always played with me, toyed with my mind.
Why has it played with your mind? Do you think it's a negative thing?
I think it is, yes. Because you're not seen as a professional in anything specific. You know, yeah, you know a little bit of everything. That's great. You don't waste time, making a call here or there for renovations. You don't waste time calling an IT guy to rewire this or rewire that or rip your computer apart. but you lose focus on the things that you probably should be doing, to propel yourself to where you should be.
I want to read you something. The phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, was used to describe a playwright who was always hanging around the theaters. He would help with the stage, the set, and the costumes. He would remember lines and try directing. This so-called jack of all trades was, in fact, William Shakespeare. The full phrase is actually, a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one, and was considered a compliment. So what I want to say to you, Edwin, is you're not just Edwin, you're Shakespeare, my friend.
I can see it now that you read it that way. I actually did not know it was Shakespeare that saying came from. But I do have to argue it a little bit because he dealt with one industry, if you will. Everything that he became jack of all trades, master of none for was related to theater. So that's why he succeeded at what he was doing. And that's what I'm getting at is, my IT knowledge doesn't really go with my home renovation knowledge or my or whatever knowledge, cooking knowledge. Like it doesn't tie in. It doesn't build a bigger picture.
Well, I think it was Donald Trump who said, generalists get further in life. It's better to know 80% of a lot of things than be a specialist in one. But hey, we won't take advice from Donald Trump today.
I actually like the guy.
There's a lot of people who do. I mean, I admire his chutzpah. Like, he's got a lot of gall. I kind of admire that. He's a man who knows what he wants, goes after it, believes in himself. Correct. I mean, even though I know that he's a polarizing character, but there's also something a lot of people can learn from him. He doesn't try to please everyone. He just is himself.
Yeah, and I knew he'd be president. I actually spoke to my buddy who was a Marine, I think it was. I told him I bet him $1,000 Donald Trump would be president one day, and there you go. This was before he actually came in. This was just when Donald Trump was talking of running. I'm like, I guarantee you he's going to run and he's going to win it. And he did.
I'm glad you won that money.
I didn't bet. It was just talk.
Oh, too bad. You should have thrown some bills on the table.
Oh, tell me about it.
Oh, you're somebody who loves hard and you love with everything that you are. And I know that you and I, we've joked before about how you and me are male and female versions of each other because we know how to love completely and sacrificially. We love with everything that we are. But for me personally, the key has always been to find healthy soil for my seed or what I have to offer. What about you?
Nobody's perfect. I think everybody comes into your life for different reasons. Part of it is cultural. I'll be honest. I think a lot of it is the Latin in me, and I think anybody who knows me well enough knows how I can love, and how I do become very devoted and dedicated to people I love. It's who I am. I think a lot of it has to be. It's in my blood.
Are men still interested in the emotion of love?
I'd like to think so. I'd like to think that it's not dead. I mean. The world's still turning the same way. Why would that change? I know it's tougher times. There's no question that I'm sure both sides look for something that's advantageous to them going forward with respect to societal status and financial gain, I'm going to say, which is a very strong word for that. Yeah, there's no question it's measured, but it's not love that's being measured. It's all kinds of other things now attached to it. But I still think there's a love component to it. I just don't think it outweighs everything else anymore. It's still there, and some people hold more dear to that side of the relationship, the love part, than others.
You call yourself a nice guy who finishes last. What do you mean by that?
Wow, that's I didn't think you'd bring that one up. I'm surprised you remember that. You always read stuff about nice guys. They always say nice guys, they've lost before the game's even started. I think a lot of it is stemmed from me just not saying no to people and always taking the shirt off my back and all that stuff. And at one point, I think what happened was I always expected that shirt to be returned or them taking their shirt off their back. I've actually learned to let go of that. I still believe, some guys can't get walked all over. There's no question. I've learned that you got to do things from the heart and not expect anything back in return. But that's not why you're doing it. You're doing it because that's who you are, not because you want something back. Not expect things in return. That's not what love is. That's not unselfish love, bro. That's not unconditional love. That's not unselfish love or any of that sort of stuff. It's just it's who you are. You can't expect anything back. You have to do it from your heart, and that's that.
I can definitely relate to that. I think it was maybe in my 30s when I suddenly realized I'm willing to give everything to my friends or the person that I'm with, but they're not as willing to give anything nearly close to the same amount back. And it was a real rude awakening for me. It was very painful, but I think good, because you have to be pragmatic and realistic about these things. And it also makes you choose the people that you let into your innermost circle far more carefully.
Life is evolving, and you'll find that you need different people in different ways as you go through life. And it's what works for you. It's not about, I'm going to go back to my original comment. It's not about what you give and what you get back. Like, you can't measure it, and you shouldn't be disappointed. Like, certain people in your life are meant to give you only certain things. And that's what God meant for it to happen that way, because that's what's got to get you through.
That's a powerful statement. Certain people are only meant to give you certain things in your life. That's actually really wise.
We all learn from the people that come in and out of our lives. They make us better people or worse people, whatever direction your life goes in. But either way, it's a lesson. I don't measure my friendships or measure the people in my life and compare. I mean, I'm happy to have people in my life that I have, because I know they've got my back.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier about I do what I do based on who I am, because it's who I am. I think that's a very powerful statement. It actually kind of reminds me of God. He doesn't do things because of who we are. He does it because of who he is,
Yep, correct. I
want
never
to talk
actually
about
thought of that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because some people are like, oh, if I do this, then God will do that. God will start loving me. And it's like, no, actually, he does it because it's who he is, not because of what you do or do not do.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with somebody at one point, and they said, do you realize when you pray for something, it's not falling on your lap, it's what's good for you. It's what God decides to give you, and it's just what I decide to take. God might drop $10 million on my lap, but I might only take one and give away the other 9. I'm only taking what I need.
Interesting. I've never heard that before. It's not only what God gives, but it also is what you take. That's interesting. I've never heard that. Explain that more for me.
Well, I think I take what I need from what God provides me, and the rest really I give away. And I don't mean just the monetary. I still remember, for example, you saw me pull up in this Benz, and you're like, what the heck? But I'm like, yo,
I was like, yo, bro, like, where did this Benz come from? And it was so black and it was so shiny.
Yeah, it's not so shiny anymore, but in any case. But yeah, I have friends that still to this day, they're like, no, you drive. I'm like, that's fine. But it's a gift. God gave me that Benz. I don't use it for any harm. I use it even with friends that are like, yo, I want to drive your car. Or, let's go for a ride in your car. I mean, it's just a simple example that it's not even just about the monetary. It's also the values that God puts in me with respect to patience, for example. I've been told anyways, I'm probably one of the most patient people you can ever meet. I take what I need and I can, and the rest I give away. And I don't care. I'm not trying to measure anything in this life.
I want to talk about friendship. One of my nicknames for you that I have is Edwin, because you're such a great friend to so many people. You're one of the finest friends I've seen, actually, because you put action behind your friendship. When I need you, you're always there. And it's weird because I always feel like I'm special, because whenever I need you, you're always there. Like, it's always like you have time for me. But what's weird is that there are literally scores of people that you do this for. You've made so many people feel special because you'll drop everything you're doing and you will come to their aid, no matter how small or how big it is. You'll even go out of your way. And you really demonstrate your friendship with action. Why are you like this?
Like I said earlier, I'm not used to saying no. And I'm always used to taking my shirt off my back and like I said, all that stuff before, but I don't expect it in return. That's just the way I am. Like I said earlier as well, I've learned to kind of limit that, to not say it to everyone, not be there for everyone, but to be there for the people that I know that are going to carry me through when I need them, that have got my back when I need them. So
why can't you say no?
I think honestly, that is something that God has put in me. Because if I'm capable, I'm going to do it. That's simple as that. God said I'm capable of fixing your car. I'm capable of driving you to this place. I'm capable of teaching you how to back up your hard drive. You know what that's like. I'm capable of picking up groceries for this person, or like my mom and sister, or I'm capable of taking my neighbor to do this, or I'm capable, whatever. I don't measure. You know, God gave me that capability to do those things. So I've always said, yeah, no problem. I won't say no. But yeah, there are times that I've learned to say no. It's been a good thing, actually. It's not a bad thing.
No, not at all. And I think that's beautiful that you say, I do it because I can. I'm capable of doing it, so why not? And I think that's a great way to move forward, especially for me. I get a lot of inspiration from that because there's so many things I can do, but I always think it's not good enough. I always think I should be more talented at it. I should be more maverick or prodigious at it in order to engage in it. But I really love what you say. You can do it, just do it.
Yeah, because you have to understand, even if you feel like it's not 100%, it's not an A plus, it probably is to the person that you're helping. They might be in that slump. And even if you just give them 10%, it's enough to propel them over that edge to where they need to be. So again, I don't measure. You can't measure. It's not about measuring. It's about knowing that you're there for that person and they'll be there for you, and get that going.
I want to talk about passion. Recently, you've developed a passion to help the younger generation with obesity.
Yes.
And you say that you know what it's like because you've been there. And you also say that people fail to realize, especially at the early age, that the damage done through obesity is not just physical. Do you think that that passion stems from the fact that you were bullied for being chubby as a child?
100%. Yeah, I think it affects your confidence in the years as you grow. You could probably feel lonely from it. There's different feelings, I'm sure, and emotions that you would go through it from being bullied and being obese and feeling like you're not one of them, or feeling different. And just recently, I was studying material for my personal training certificate, and my master's certificate was that obesity is very prevalent. The numbers are right up there, like they're through the roof. It almost feels like nothing's changed, but the numbers look even worse than when I was younger. Something that's in my heart is to just help with that and put something out there that kids could relate to. I still feel like a big kid myself, and I'd like to think I could relate to young adults and all those sort of people that are at that pivotal point where they're like, what do I do? And in the long run, you don't want to be dealing with heart issues when you're 40s. You don't want to be dealing with, you snapping bones because you can't carry your weight. You don't want to be dealing with any issues. This should be a lifestyle. Last night I was with a couple of buddies watching a football game. We went through about 6 pounds of wings, which is quite a bit. Six,
That
7
seems
pounds.
anti-message here.
The thing I was talking about briefly about obesity was you should be able to enjoy life, but you got to know how. When it comes to food, when it comes to health, like there's got to be a balance. When you're 40, when you're 50, when you're 70, there's no catching up. It's too late. And that's the message I think I'm going to try to portray in the weeks and months to come. I'm hoping to put some videos up and write a book is the main thing, but something that youth can easily get through and relate to. You can enjoy everything, but you've got to do it in moderation. You've got to understand that you can't play catch up down the road. It's too late. You only get one life.
Yeah, that's true. I think that if you can teach kids healthy habits early on, it's going to save them a lot of health issues and heartache and trouble down the line. Can I be on your podcast?
We'll talk. I got to figure out what it's about first. I got to figure out all the. I haven't even thought about it. I just know I want to do it. I definitely know I want to do a podcast about that.
I'm so opportunistic. Okay, so you're
Not at
good.
all.
Maybe just smart. You're good at motivating people. So you say that you found a way to hack yourself and motivate yourself in the gym, for example.
Mhm.
Please share your secret with us.
So I had a friend years back that I was lifting with, and he was shocked at how much I could lift. And I remember he said that I went into beast mode. At the time, I didn't really think much of it. I found that in everything, you've got to find that beast mode. Whatever it is you're doing, you've got to want it, or it's not going to happen. In fitness, when I'm training, I go to the gym maybe 2 hours every day practically. Not in the past couple of weeks, not yesterday because of those wings are weighing kind of heavy on me right now. But
2 hours every day you go to the gym?
I do about 2 hours a day, yeah, typically.
What's your
But
regime? Like, can you give us a very brief snapshot of what you do in the gym?
usually I'll start with a light cardio for
Mhm.
about 15-20 minutes just to loosen up all my joints. Then I will go either into core or some other sort of calisthenic exercise for another 15-20 minutes, whether it be abs or strengthening any, like loosening, stretching, strengthening any area that I will be working on when I hit the weights. Then I hit weights for generally about 40-45 minutes. And then I cool down back on cardio for a harder cardio than the original cardio, which counts as my cardio session for a good 30-40 minutes, whatever I can.
So let me ask you, there's cardio camp and then there's lifting camp. Which camp are you in, or is there merit in both?
Both. You've got to do both.
There's been a rise in the lifting community.
There's a
A
big hoopla
movement. Yeah.
about health and fitness just in general. There's all sorts of fads and diets. But I think people lose vision that it's not about the
Mhm.
fads, the diets, the six pack, or it's a lifestyle. I mean, this is you. This is your body, and you've got to take care of it.
So I've thought about this a lot, even in my own life. I feel so much better when I go for my walk, when I stretch, eat well, hydrate, and sleep, but I just don't do it. Or I'll go for a stretch of time being really good, sometimes years. And then, some event will happen, usually very stress related, and I'll fall off the wagon. How can we build consistency deep down inside of us?
Well, it's interesting because I read a comment. Why is it that the most dangerous things in life, the most challenging things in life, are the ones that bring us the most excitement? But when it comes time for us to do it, we refuse to do it. And
Yeah, what gives?
it's a mindset. You've got to really want it. If you're not thirsty for it, you're not going to want it.
Okay, so
It's
in my case, I really want it, but oh, you know what? Maybe
no,
the
you
truth is I
don't.
don't. Yeah,
You
maybe
don't.
that's the truth. Yeah, maybe that's the harsh reality.
Yeah, that's where it starts. And that again, I go back to what I just said. It's a mindset. You have to tell yourself. I often wake up in the middle of the night, 3, 4 in the morning. I sleep only like 4 or 5 hours a night. And when I wake up, quite often I want to go work out. Or quite often I'll hop on my laptop and start jotting things down or studying something or listening to something. But it's what you do with it. It doesn't matter what time of day or night. You've got to want to do something with that time. If it's 6 a.m. and it doesn't work for you, then find another time. It's that simple. You want to
Mhm.
do it, but 6 a.m., honestly, for me, I can't work out at 6 a.m. I feel
Mhm.
sloppy. I can't work out.
Me too.
Um,
I find morning workouts to be quite ineffective for me. I think the most I'd want to do is go for a walk or stretch than
mhm,
anything else. I find I have tons more energy at 4 p.m.,
mhm.
5 p.m., 6 p.m., around there. You just get a bit of workout in?
And that's just it. You got to find a time, and it might not be the same time every day. But the goal is uh, not to give up on what you should be doing. Like, who cares? I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. If you can't sleep, get up and go for a walk. Just do it. The
Mm,
point is, do it, do it, do it. Like,
hmm
don't use the excuse that it's too dark outside and it's cold and it's all that sort of stuff. Like,
Oh, geez. Have you been reading my diary?
I have not, but it's a
It's
lot
too
of
dark
people's diary.
outside. I don't want to go.
It's a lot of people's diaries. That's the thing, and you can't do that. Nobody's going to do it for you. You've got to find it in you to just say, "I'm going to do this." Period.
You're on your way to becoming a certified personal trainer.
I've already got my certification for personal training, and I've got my health coach certification. I'm working towards my master's certification from a master trainer.
Congratulations on that. I can't think of anybody better to train people than you. You've got so much generosity of spirit, patience, like you said, and you really empathize with people, but also you don't let them off the hook, which I think is the point of having a trainer. What's your why and what's driving you?
I've often heard that question. I learned a lot of that in real estate. They would always ask me, what is your why? What is your why? And one thing I learned very early on in my entrepreneurial career, regardless of what I was doing, whether it was real estate or contracting or anything else, was that it can't be about the money. A lot of people, especially the ambitious real estate agents that I started to work with, they would always say, I want to make money. I want six figures. I want this. I want that. That's not your why. Your why is, why do you want that money? That's your why. My why and why I do the things that I do, predominantly, I'm in real estate right now, and I'm getting into the personal training. And just to kind of give you a synopsis of my whys, my why I do real estate is because I enjoy seeing people find a home that they can be happy in and build a life in. I don't care how much commission I make. I'm not there to make my 2.5% or 5% or whatever it is. It's not about numbers. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to take $100. I mean, you've got to be somewhat generous here. It's my it's my bread and butter.
I did it for a loony.
Yeah, no. Go talk to the other agents. My why is just making people happy. It just comes back to that whole thing of, I'm not measuring anything in terms of how much can I get out of this. I'm just measuring, I'm happy that you got this. It works for you. I'd love to visit you and have barbecue sometime, or meet your family and all that sort of jazz. And with personal training, my why is just the same thing. It's helping people. I don't want anything in return. I just want to be able to work with somebody whose mindset changes, and all that positive attitude of being able to get out of their own beds and get it onto the treadmills and do whatever it is that whatever the regiment calls for on their own. That's the why. Is I want to be able to turn around and shake people's hands and be like, congratulations, you did it. You're on your own now.
Well, I think that kind of thinking exemplifies the big-hearted person that you are. You're always so heart-centered, focused on other people's best. And I think that's an amazing quality. What are you most proud of in your life?
Wow, that is a good question. I'm going to have to say my kids. I take a lot of pride in trying to make my kids strong in many ways. I take pride in who I'm trying to make them become. And I don't want them to be me. I mean, I want them to be them and be strong at what they are doing and who they are, and in every aspect that I can possibly think of. So I definitely take pride in my kids and who they're becoming.
What do you hope that your presence here on Earth will leave?
I'm not gauging what people will say. I'm not gauging the numbers of how many people I might influence. Being able to help people. I don't need the recognition. I don't need my face plastered on a wall. I don't need $1 million check. It's not about any of that. The only mark I really want to leave on Earth is made it a better place. I think a lot of people use that answer, but to explain it, this is getting people motivated to do things with their lives. And I know life isn't easy. With my father passing away, with my bullying when I was younger, I've had financial hardships when I was single. I've had, you get your health issues, you get your mental issues. To be able to just help people and make them stronger is all I really want to do. Leaving this world a better place. I can't solve world peace, but hey, one person at a time, I'm sure I can make a difference.
I'm sure you could solve world peace if given the chance.
I doubt it.
What are you pursuing in this next chapter of your life?
Ultimately, my goal is to make myself happy. I've wasted years wondering since my father passed away, what if? I've wasted years working for whomever and then leaving it, wondering what was the point. At the age I'm at right now, I'm at a point in my life where I need to feel like I'm going in the right direction, because once I feel that, I'm pretty sure right now, and I can tell you this positively because I feel it, I don't care who's in my way, I'm going to steamroll right through them. And I'm not turning back this time. There is too much that has bogged me down in the years past, all the way back to being a teenager and being bullied. There's been too much guessing and too many what ifs. There's been too many doubts. There's been too many losses. It's time to steamroll. I'm ready to just go right through things right now and just move forward.
Thank you for sharing that. You know, I'm very passionate about my audience. I do what I do because I love to encourage, inspire, and ignite people's limitless potential. I want you to give a piece of encouragement, last parting words to the Passion and Pursuit community.
The easiest set of words I can think of is don't give up. Find your passion. Find what makes you happy and work with it. It's not to say that it needs to be carved in stone the way it is. You can work it, but you need to find a passion that you can wake up to every morning and be proud of what you're looking at, because that passion is you in the mirror. That passion is you looking at yourself saying, I'm going to charge this day head on and take it on. Love it. Be proud of it. Look at it as, can I do this until I'm old and gray? Can I continue? There's no time limit. Just find that passion. You'd be surprised. It's not necessarily one thing. My passion is helping people. That's the bottom line. So it's not to say when I say find your passion, it does not mean go find what you like to do. Don't, I like accounting. I want to stay with accounting until I can count to the number Jesus hasn't actually invented yet. That's not the point. That's not your passion.
That's a great distinction.
What are you doing? Why are you doing accounting? Why are you doing this? Like, you've got to know why you're doing something. And for me, a lot of my decisions of where my life is headed right now are the whys. You got to find that passion and why you're doing it, and then it will come together. But everybody's different. I can't give you a template. I'm not even going to try. Everybody's different, but you'll know. You'll feel it. When you feel that, you'll know. And don't stop.
Thank you so much. I love that. To find the heart behind whatever it is you're passionate about. Where can people find you online, Edwin?
Email, which I guess you can cut and paste afterwards, but it's Edwin, Edwin. It's a long name. So Edwin Menendez Molina, MENENDEZMOLINA. I think it's like 18 characters at gmail.com. Shoot me an email.
That's amazing. And I hope people reach out to you because you've been really inspiring, especially to the man listening. I think you've said a lot of important things. Edwin, you said that some words that have been used to describe you are patient, that you're one of the most patient people you'll meet. You've been described as reliable, sincere, hardworking, and adaptable. I've personally experienced all of these sides of you in our friendship and wholeheartedly agree. So I'd like to add a few more. And what I'd like to say to you, Edwin, is you are multi-talented and an incredible dad. One of the finest dads I've seen. A man who knows how to support and nurture other people right down to the soul level, which is a rare trait in a man of strength like you. You're a person who is resourceful. You have an astute mind. And I wanted to thank you so much today for having the strength of heart that you did to be so open about your passion, your past, and your pursuit. So ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to Edwin Menendez Molina, incredible story of moving forward from the setbacks of the past and creating a brand new future with dreams that will come true. Yeah. This is Passion and Pursuit, a podcast of the heart where you